Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Pixelated Sausage Show. I just remembered, I did this last time. How did I do the intro to the show before? Oh, welcome to the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hello, 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 and welcome to. Is the triple thing? Is that what's throwing me off? Was it originally? Hello, everybody. No, not. I never said everybody. That's definitely not it. Hello. Nope. God. Great start to the friggin' podcast. Hello, and welcome to. No. I need to go back and listen to these old episodes like I said I was going to do because there's something off. Hello. Hello. Hi. And welcome to the. Actually, I say hi after the Pixel. It's been a week. You're probably sitting there watching or listening to this saying, what? You say that every episode. It's always been a week. When is it not going to be a week for you? You know what? When it isn't, I won't tell you it's been a week. It's been 1 week since I said it's been a week, and it'll be one more week until I say it again. But who am I to be saying it's been a week? Marcus Ness, hi. Hi. How are y'all doing? Hopefully well. I had a dentist appointment today. Regular old cleaning. Mouth feels fine. You go to the dentist. They're like, oh, fuck, all this shit's wrong with you. And you're like, really? How come I don't feel any of that? It's the worst. I hate it. But nothing new cropped up. Just filling fell out, I guess, at some point. So they're going to replace that next week. And then the last crown they gave me, which I remember them having to do twice because they screwed it up the first time. Apparently, the dentist, when looking at the x-ray, said, this doesn't look completely sealed. I'm not happy about this. I don't like this. I want to redo it. Which I immediately first thought, you want to redo this because you fucked up? And I'm going to have to pay for another fucking crown? And then he immediately said, it'll be free of charge. Don't worry about any of that. Because he didn't say, oh, because we fucked up. But obviously, that's why it's free of charge. Because it's not a new crown because of new decay or something I did. It's because they, to put it nicely, aren't happy with how it turned out. So I get to go through that whole fucking process again, which is so annoying. If you've never had a crown, it's annoying. Because they do the whole thing. They take your impression, give you the temporary crown for 2 weeks where you have to wait and you can't floss around that tooth, which becomes frustrating for me as someone who does floss regularly. And you can't eat anything too sticky. So if you're a gum chewer, which I'm not anymore, but I used to be a chronic gum chewer. And by gum, I mean bubble gum, not mouth gums. You can't do that. So that'll make it easier since I'm no longer on the gum. But it's just an annoying process. And I don't like going to the dentist. I hate going to the dentist. It is the thing in my life that I do regularly for the cleanings that I hate and never look forward to. I know it's a legit business, but I can't help but think of dentistry as the biggest racket in the country. Why are there so many dental offices? There are as many dental offices as there are bars. I go down a busy street, dentist office on each block. It's insane how many dental offices there are. It's crazy. I hate it so much. And I hate it especially, I bet if I had really good genetics, I'd be happy. But I don't. So I have a shit mouth. I am so strict with certain things in my diet to avoid various things like staining and all this other crap. And yet, I know people who don't go to the dentist for 10 years. They go there, they might have one filling, they might not have anything. They don't floss and they're fine. I floss after every meal. I brush twice a day. I don't eat any kind of candy or any kind of super high processed food. I eat a lot of fresh food and all the good stuff. I rinse and I only drink water. I don't drink super bubbly, sugary shit. I literally only drink water and 1 glass of soy milk. So not only water, but mostly water. It's just the worst. I hate it. And I'm talking about this because I really don't have anything else to talk about. I don't have any strong inclination to talk about my current standings in the MCU rewatch and the Spider-Man rewatch. If you really care, pxsausage.com, go to the letterbox linked. You can see my ratings and cheeky reviews mostly for all of the movies and just movies in general. But in terms of games, got quite a few to talk about, including V-Rising, Shogun Showdown, Aidan in Danger, Kiki, a vibrant 3D platformer, A Night on the Farm, HoneyLand, and Sokolab. I'm looking at some of these and I'm already thinking to myself, do I remember these all that well? But one of these games is my favorite game of the year. By far. And I can't wait to play more of it, and it'll probably be it probably has a forever place on my Xbox. I am so in love with it, and I've only scratched the surface of it, but it is scratching that itch that hasn't been scratched since Into the Breach. And if you know me, you know that's high praise, because Into the Breach is one of my top 10 favorite games. It's one of my top 10 favorite games of all time. I adore Into the Breach. I hope that we can still eventually see it on PlayStation and Xbox, because it is a game that deserves to be in front of the largest audience possible. But it's only currently available on PC, Switch, and mobile, but only through Netflix, I believe. I don't believe there is a way to purchase it outright. I can't speak today, apparently. It's 12:23 in the evening, in the morning, however you want to look at it, aka AM, not afternoon. We can at least say that. We can agree that it's not afternoon. But I wish I could just buy Into the Breach on mobile, because then my life would be over as I just played it nonstop on my iPad. So maybe I don't want that. But those are the games. Are we telling? Can you guess which one of those is the Into the Breach like? I don't know. Is it the Kiki 3D platformer one? Maybe. Maybe not. But I think I'll probably just jump into it. I can't remember any particular news story that popped out. Oh my god. To me in any big way. We had the PlayStation 5 Pro, which I went on for too long last episode. All about that. And since then, nothing. People still reeling from that in various ways. So let us just get to what I've been playing, starting with V-Rising. This game came out a while ago on PC and PlayStation. I have no idea if it'll be coming to Xbox. I hope it will, because it's not bad, but I put about 3-4 hours into it, and it's okay. I played it solo only, and on my own server. It was my own hosted game, private. I probably could have invited friends if I wanted to have that cooperative experience, but it wasn't a public thing where randoms could pop into my game and steal my shit in a very Rustish and the like type of survival game, I'm assuming. And if you don't know what this is, it is a third person kind of isometric camera survival game, Tree Puncher, where you are playing a vampire and you are building up a base, furnishing it with whatnot, building walls of various materials that may be more structurally sound the deeper you get into it and the stronger the resources you get. Crafting, doing all that jazz while collecting goods in the environment and going after extra powerful NPCs that will give you extra perks and bonuses to your vampire character. And that's pretty much the gist of it, seemingly. The map doesn't seem super huge, so it feels like it's something you could get through quicker than you might expect. But gameplay-wise, when you're in combat, it does feel reminiscent of a Diablo-like. But one of the things I don't like about the game, control-wise, is that you don't have free camera movement mapped to the right analog stick by default. That's not exact. In order to move the camera, you have to hold down the L2 button and then use the right analog stick. If you aren't holding the L2 button down, you are then aiming your spell, your ranged weaponry in that direction. And I feel like, for me at least, it's not that I feel like, I know for me at least, but I feel like for most, it probably would have been better to do the opposite, because I am moving the camera and wanting to move the camera way more than I'm ever using any of my ranged attacks. I prefer getting up close and personal, in part because I don't have a lot of ranged attacks right now, and there is a decent cooldown with the one I do have, so I'm going to be getting in the thick of it up close and personal way more often. So I wish I could switch that up, but the only difference in the two controller presets, and you can't map buttons as you want, but they do have two presets, but all it does is either keep it that way for camera movement or make it so that you press the bumpers and use some of the face button. It looked like an even worse control scheme for me. So I don't love that about how it controls, how it plays. And then you have a dash, but that is also a cooldown ability, which I wish wasn't a cooldown ability, because I want to be able to dash around. But the basic gameplay loop is just build up your base and then go out and collect resources, attack enemies, attack animals, get resources from them, fight skeletons. You get a clear indication with enemies if they are lower level than you, same level, or higher, so that you know whether or not to engage or you can take a risk. It has that survival system of when you die, you drop all your stuff and then you can go back and collect your stuff if you want. The creature design is pretty all right. There are a lot of basic things like skeletons, wolves, humans of various kinds, warriors, rogues, archers, etc. And then some more really out there creatures that feel Lovecraftian in ways. There was this giant freaking blob of so many teeth and so many... It was freaky and had a skull above it that made me say, oh, okay, this is probably going to kill me with one shot if I get close to it. Stay away from this thing. And I lured it to a bandit camp and let them have fun with it. There are special enemies who you defeat, like I said, and will give you perks. One of the first is a white wolf or a gray wolf that when you defeat it and absorb its energy, it allows you to transform into a wolf, which is great specifically for maneuvering through the environment at a much faster pace. So I appreciated that upgrade quite a bit. And then I defeated another archer who gave me a point to put into my ice power skill tree. So I like that system as well. There is, of course, the day-night mechanic. You being a vampire, when it's daylight, you have to move between the shadows. You can spend a little amount of time in the sun, but if you spend too much time in the sun, you'll start to burn up and then take a lot of damage. The way you heal is just by you collect blood by sucking it out of enemies when you weaken them enough, and then you'll have a blood pool that you can go to and heal up when you're not being attacked. And yeah, it is a solid game and fun enough, but what it's lacking for me is a strong identity and personality. It just feels like another one of those games, but more so like Diablo-ish in terms of the gameplay when you're or just from the camera perspective. A little bit closer zoomed in, but there's not really any story there that I found. I did find a little store area where I could buy goods, but I couldn't sell goods, it didn't seem like, which frustrated me because I had a bunch of shit I didn't want, but I didn't want to just discard somewhere random in the woods. I also think where I built my camp is bad. I found a pathway up this area and I said, ooh, this looks like a nice secluded place to put my base, but the next objective is to build a base of a certain size, and I don't know if I can even do that where I am, which sucks. But after putting in that 3 or 4 hours, I feel like I've seen a lot of what the game has to offer, even though there are way more skill trees and things to discover in terms of how my character plays, because everyone is the same, and I'm assuming that the way you decide to equip your character is going to be the main way in which gameplay is different between person to person. But it's all right. I think a big part of it too, why it's not hitting for me the way it might hit for others, is that I can only assume that playing it with others, opening up your session to random people popping in, would make it way more exciting and intense and interesting, because people can go to your base, steal your shit when you are offline. When you save and exit, I believe your character's still just hanging out wherever it was, and I believe that is why you have coffins where you can sleep inside your base, because I don't see the reason for them otherwise. And I'm guessing that, because I don't play games like these, really, that if I just left my character randomly somewhere in the woods and saved an exit, someone could just pop in at any time while I was away and find my character and kill him while he's just standing there and just doing nothing. It's okay. Maybe check it out. Maybe die. V-Rising. It's okay. Next up, though, is Shogun Showdown, and this game I fucking love. This is the Into the Breach like for me. This is a 2D game where you go on various runs in a very rogue-light-like fashion, very similar to stuff like Slay the Spire and other deck builders, where you start off in a path and then you'll have branching paths that may have a battle or a story that'll give you this upgrade, and you are doing a handful of battles, and then you eventually reach a boss, and then you move on to the next area, and you just rinse and repeat this and see how far you can go. When you die, you start over the run from the very beginning, and you can unlock the ability to find new cards, new things in your run or not. And that is the main way that it opens up the experience, and you can unlock some new characters as well. I have played a few hours of it so far. Have beaten maybe the first 5 or 6 bosses, because you get a boss after 2 or so battles per area. It's a very quick turnaround. And I'm still on my current run that has been going on for maybe 45 minutes, close to an hour. And I love it. The way it works and why it's Into the Breach-ish is that you're looking at everything from a 2D perspective. And you start off on the middle of this plane, and then there will be a certain number of spaces. Let's just say you can have 7 to 10 spaces. It varies. But those spaces can occupy you or enemies. And in each regular battle, you'll be fighting a certain wave, number of waves of enemies. And it is, of course, turn-based. Every single action you take, the enemies will be taking an action at the same time. That could be moving, that could be turning around to face you, that could be selecting the next action they'll be doing. It may be just getting ready to initiate their set of actions, because you can stack up to 3 actions. These actions can include fighting a weapon, dashing to someone. You have various cards that can be something that's just basic as attack forward, attack front and behind you, use a grappling hook to pull an enemy to you, dash to an enemy, dash in front of an enemy, and so on. And all of these various abilities of yours, which are in the form of cards, they have cooldowns. So you use them, and then they have a certain number of actions, moves, before they can be used again. What I love about the game and why it hits that Into the Breach thing is that, like Into the Breach and Slay the Spire and a lot of card games of this nature, everything the enemies are going to do is telegraphed. You see what they're going to do, and you can plan for that. And with that, why it scratches that Into the Breach itch way more than any deck builder or any other game that I've played is because you can manipulate the gameplay area so that an enemy that is about to attack will, depending on what you do, you can put them into the position of attacking another enemy. So this can be done by abilities, or one of your passive abilities that you have, and the cooldown for it is every 4 moves, is that you can switch spaces with an enemy. And say there's an enemy who attacks by charging at you. When you know they're about to attack and you have another enemy in front of you, you can switch spaces with them, put them behind you, and then have that enemy attack them. And you can also chain certain things of various attacks where you attack this enemy and then you switch spaces with another one using the dash ability, which is that's a card-based one. And then you fire an arrow to take out this other enemy, while then the one who you switch spaces with and is behind you gets grappled by one of their buddies and gets chainsawed because that person's action was grapple, then chainsaw. And that chain effect and that ability to use the enemy against themselves is so satisfying. It is so satisfying in these strategy games that have friendly fire for both you and enemies, where you can manipulate the area to make it so that in a way an enemy is working for you based on the way you've set things up. It's also a lot easier to wrap your head around, or much easier to kind of play while doing other things because there is a layer removed from the strategy and the thought process that you have in Into the Breach because you're not in a three-dimensional area and don't have to think about the three-dimensional space since it is only this 2D plane and there's only left and right. But based off my first impression, I'm just loving the hell out of this game. There are still, I think, because I still only have the first character. I'm assuming I'll unlock a character after I do a complete run. But I believe there are 4 additional characters. There are 42 abilities, cards that you can unlock over time, I think. And then a handful of various skills and skills you can get at shops, which will give you certain bonuses, like if you take out 2 enemies at the same time, then a 3rd enemy will be cursed. Or doing some kind of specific action will freeze enemies, and so on. And with the upgrade stuff, you'll be able to lessen the cooldown of various cards, increase their attack, give them certain perks like freeze in favor of increasing the cooldown. And every weapon will have every ability card will have a certain number of upgrade slots that you can also increase later on. It's so satisfying. And you unlock new cards and stuff to find in a run by defeating bosses and using the currency from defeated bosses to purchase those at the main menu screen. But having only put in a few hours, I'm already in love with it so much. This is maybe clicking with me more than any game of a similar nature. As much as I love Slay the Spire and similar-ish games, because I really am a fan of deck builders and the like, this one, at first I was kind of not quite sure what to make of it, but when I got a handle, which didn't take long, on how everything works, how the system works, the fact that you can, well, basically once I realized I can make the enemy damage other enemies, I could do that, the light bulb went above my head. I was like, oh, this is fucking Into the Breach. This is just a simplified Into the Breach with kind of a ninja vibe to it. This could go places. And then I immediately looked and wanted to see, will I be able to find more characters? Because if it's only limited to this character, then it might get old fast. But I can't recommend Shogun Showdown highly enough. Especially if you are a fan of Into the Breach, I would just blind buy it. I would recommend. If you don't like Shogun Showdown and you loved Into the Breach, I'd be very, very surprised. But for anyone, I would say check it out because it's really easy to understand. And I don't want to say it's hard to master, but there's a lot of stuff you can do, and the various battles can play out in so many different ways depending on how you want to play them. You can play it very defensively or offensively. You can play it slow and work it so that you're constantly making the enemy attack itself, or you can try to find a way to have a balanced fighting scheme where you are utilizing everything. But it's super satisfying. It's some of the most satisfying gaming I've had in a very long time, where even just a regular battle, it feels great to do it well. And I love every time I fight a boss and they don't do any damage and it ends with obliterated. You're gosh darn right I obliterated them. Taking on bosses and doing it perfect, no damage taken, is super satisfying. And yeah, it's just a fantastic game that is. Again, Shogun Showdown, highly recommended. Aidan in Danger is a 2D side-scrolling platformer where you have a bow and arrow and you go around fighting things. It did do a whole lot. It was fine. It played well enough. You are just going around. I don't even remember. I'm gonna be honest. I need to do a quick Google of it because it did not leave much of an impression from a personality standpoint or anything of that nature. So I want to do a quick. I'm trying to think of exactly what it was. I just want to see an image of it. Yeah, it was whatever. I'm even looking at these screenshots. It was super easy. There was very little challenge to it. It was fine. It played well enough. There are various challenges in the form of achievements where it has you going through a level, taking out all the flying enemies of this level, or collecting 10 crystals without ever restarting an area or dying, or going through a certain number of levels without taking any damage, completing a certain number of levels without dying. And those make it a little bit more interesting going after the specific achievements, but the actual act of just playing through a level is pretty dull. It's fine. It's just it's telling that I went through it and already don't remember it all that much. It's no Shogun Showdown. Kiki, a vibrant 3D platformer, is a first-person platformer where you are going through an area, collecting 3 coins or something like that, which may have been optional. I'm not even sure about that. And then getting to a finish line. You do a lot of jumping, and what turned me off about this game was there felt like there was a slight input delay, so that while there are a lot of gaps for you to jump over, and there are traps to avoid as well, spinning blades, but specifically with any gap that you had to jump over, it felt like there was a bit of a delay where I would hit the edge, and I assumed that I'm hitting the jump button at the right time to jump over it, and then I just fall off. And that happened enough times where it just felt off, and it didn't feel like it was me, because I'm not that slow. But I'm sure you're probably saying, "Are you sure about that?" But even ignoring that, it wasn't. The level designs weren't super interesting early on, at least. They didn't get me excited to go through them. It wasn't something where I'm failing or I'm falling off these edges, but I'm having fun when everything is clicking. There was never any kind of, what do you call it? That the thing where you get into those moments and you're like, oh, this feels right. It's not the slipstream. That's Kiki, a vibrant 3D platformer. Night on the Farm is a first-person walk-in sim horror type game where you are spending a night on the farm. You're going through it, coming across locked doors. To open this door, you find a key card here in the hamper. Get that key card, open that door. Okay, now there's a key card in this room that'll allow you to go into this room and that room. And early on, going to the garage, doing all this stuff, it's not particularly scary. It looks okay, except when you notice how close and how much of texture drawn there is on certain things, especially like the siding of a building, where you can see the 3 layers of textures. There's the base layer. Okay. Oh, now I'm walking further away. I can see the high detail because it's a polygonal looking game. I think it looks good when it's not showing its skeleton, but you get close and then you back away. Oh, there's the mid layer, and then you back away some more. Oh, there's the base layer, and it's funky looking. But I got to an area where I had to go into this corn maze, and I saw something pop up its head above one of the groups of stalks, and I said, this seems like it's going to be a section where something is chasing me or walking through here, and if it spots me, it's going to come and shove its face on my TV and make a loud noise and want to jump scare me. I'm not here for that. And the story and all of that up to that point wasn't doing anything for me that made me want to see where the story went. So didn't spend too much time with that either once I got into that corn maze. HoneyLand is a game where you are controlling a bear who wants to get to the honey. And the way it works is that you'll have a game area, very small little space, single screen, and a bunch of different spaces. And below at the bottom of the screen will be a selection of cards that have a number to them and then a direction. And the direction will be based on the position of the bear and where they're currently standing and looking. So any card, so you have left, right, up and down, forward or backward, basically. And the left card, the left arrow, will always make the bear go to their left. It doesn't matter where the bear is on the screen in orientation to you, it's where they are looking. It is always their left, their right, their forward, their backward. And that can make the game feel harder than it is, because you always have to be aware of when you are setting up things, because the game gets elaborate pretty early on in the path you'll have to take. And you have to remember that you may think, okay, obviously from where I'm standing, if I use this, and this card in this order, I'll get to where I want to go. But that's not exactly the case, because when you move in this one, when you use this card, then you'll turn around and you'll be walking in this position. And now this one card you thought you could use next will move you in the wrong direction, because you're now looking in a 90-degree angle from where you were before, or a 270-degree angle, and so on. I played through the first 10 or 11 levels, and there is an okay challenge there. It's just, I think for some, that aspect of it, the fact that the cards and the directions and all of that are tied to the way the bear in game is positioned, may be one of those things where their brain and it's just not computing, because it took me a little while to get used to it. And even after a while, I got used to it, I guess, but I didn't like it. It still did not feel right. I just got used to not feeling right, basically. But that was, it was fine. Then the last game is Sokolab, which is one of those Sokoban puzzle games where you are moving blocks, basically, that's what a lot of these games are. But in this one, you are moving blocks on certain spaces to activate switches that will then complete a level. They increase. I played the first 11 levels of this, and they increase in complexity. They'll add things that will include electricity that allow you to activate certain areas, that will lower and raise certain barriers. There are switches that you can walk over that'll activate and deactivate certain things, and so on. And they keep adding new elements, which is nice. And it has solid puzzle design, offering a decent challenge. So I think if you are a Sokoban person, it's worth checking out. But what I really want to bring up, and why I would highly recommend this game to anyone with a passing interest in Sokoban games or puzzle games, that I really, really appreciate that not enough of these games do, is that you have an undo button, and it's an unlimited undo button. It's not your last action or the last reactions. It's your entire move for that entire thing. So if you're on a later level that involves a lot of complexity and you did 30 plus moves to get to where you currently are. If you wanted to, I mean, there's no reason why you wouldn't just restart the level if you want to do this, but if you wanted to, you could undo all of those 30 plus moves. And the fact that you can do it, that you can undo your moves, is so appreciated, because in games like this, especially puzzles where you are moving one space at a time, as you get into those later ones where they are very involved and require a lot of movements, if you do something that screws up a run and you realize it immediately after you do it, or you accidentally move something that you didn't mean to move and you can't undo it, and you have to instead restart the whole thing, that's incredibly frustrating. So not having to worry about that lets a weight off my shoulders, and I would assume the shoulders of many potential players, that I just wanted to highlight that aspect of the game because I think it's something that not enough of them do. So good on you, Sokolab, for thinking of the player. I appreciate it, and I know others do too. But that is it in terms of what I've been playing. So that will do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Marcus, and as y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, some fancy Discord roles, a private Discord channel, random drops here and there, and more depending on your tier. Or you could just support me to support me. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have both a wonderful rest of your day and a lovely rest of your week, and a wonderful weekend too, of course. But for now, adios, arrivederci.